Hey guys, I wanted to go over another knife with you, and as you could probably guess from the title and what's on the table, we're going to be taking a look at a Chris Reeves Large Sebenza. This will serve as a stand-in for uh, every every Sebenza, just simply because um, I don't have my I don't have my large 21. So this computer generated graphics classic will serve as kind of an analog for everything that I like when dealing with the knives. So I'm just going to get into it right away and just talk about what I like, about Svenzas and just a little bit about them and what I think makes them so cool. So um, a Sebenza is inherently underwhelming. What does that mean? Essentially, that means that let's say you buy a zero tolerance 560, which I also happen to have right here. If you buy a zero tolerance 560, you're gonna get a lot of knife, and it's going to be, all these features. It's got, heavy jimping. It's designed by Rick Hinder. It's got KVT. It's got an over travel stop. It's got deep carry. It's a flipper. It's got all these cool, like, whiz bang features. So you feel like you get, a lot for your money. You've got sculpting inside. It's super light for how big it is. But with a Sebenza, there's not that sense of like, wow, I got an awesome product. It doesn't immediately hit you. Now, that's not to say you don't get an excellent product, because you do. In fact, you're getting one of the best, if not the best, pocket knives, out there. And it's debatable, but I think that it's one of the best. So why is it so great? And it's really in the details. Chris Reeve knows what he's doing when he's designing a knife. If he didn't, then they wouldn't be so popular. He is the one that brought the titanium frame lock to market, and immediately that should kind of tell you something. If he's the one that invented and brought this lock to market, this is probably the single most popular lock being used right now. So that alone should tell you something. You've got a beefy titanium lock, dual titanium scales. These are thick, non-milled. They don't. It's obviously solid titanium, so it doesn't bend or anything like that. It feels really solid. Immediately, it's honestly heavier than you kind of think it is, because it doesn't look like a big, huge, beefy knife, but it's actually fairly heavy. One of the things that I really like, and I'm just going to go down the list of features that I like about it. We'll start with the exterior. This pocket clip is probably my all-time favorite, and the reason I say that is because it's perfectly shaped and it's perfectly sized for its usage. First off, when you go to slide the knife in your pocket, this is just big enough that your jeans slip under there, and it works every time. When you go to stick in your pocket, your jeans go under, and it slips right in. You get a little bit of resistance in this double notch, and then it goes all the way to top. Speaking of this double notch, this works really, really great for retaining in your pocket, because all jeans have that secondary seam that runs along, or not secondary, but that seam that runs along the top. The secondary bump actually serves to hold that seam in place, so this doesn't ride up and down. As an example, the 560, which has this huge gap right here, where you've got all this material that can just do whatever it wants in here. Where this kind of pocket clip, there's not really an option. It just sits there, it doesn't move, and it works really great. It's got a nice big lanyard hole. This lanyard hole isn't supposed to be used. There's actually a pin that's supposed to go in here, and the lanyard sticks to the pin. I don't use lanyards, so I don't really care about that. The frame lock on this is really, really thick and beefy. Even the area where the cutout is not that thin. and I like it that way. I would actually prefer it was if it was on the inside, but I don't know of anybody who's had this lock break, so I don't really think that's a issue at all. The construction is very simplistic. All the screws are the same size. You'll notice that every screw is the same size. Not only do they use the same bit, but they are the same screw. So if you wanted to take this pivot screw out, you could use this screw for this pivot, and it would work just fine. So that's an awesome feature. A Sebenza is very smooth when it opens. It's not like airy smooth like a 560, but it's got this kind of smoothness that you kind of it's hydraulic. So you push, and at first it can be kind of difficult to get a hang of it because you've got to come in kind of at an angle and underneath of the thumb stud. This is why I like the large better than the small. The small is really hard to get in there for me. And you just give it a nice push, overcome the detent, and there is a slight detent, and it just glides open. You feel that thwack, that nice solid, and it is a thwack. I mean, it goes in there fairly well. So, and a lockup on a Sebenza is historically kind of late. But it's supposed to be that way. They harden the lock face of this. Most people that have Sebenzas know this, that the lock usually will not travel very far over the course of time. So you really don't have to worry about lockup, on a knife like this. So there's that. When you go to disengage the lock, there's actually a lot of tension that goes into it. I mean, you got to push fairly hard in order to get the lock bar to disengage. But once you get it to disengage, it's just so smooth. I mean, it's just so much fun to you don't feel anything. I mean, it's very smooth. Part of what makes it so smooth is the Sebenza uses, and I'm not going to be able to show you this obviously, but the Sebenza uses a bushing system. So what that means is there's actually a little bushing that is the exact same size of the blade plus the washers on either side, and it's almost exactly those. It's exact. I've taken them apart before. They're very, very flush and flat, and that's where the attention to detail really comes in. You can tighten this pivot down all the way, and it is tightened down all the way, and it gives you, not only can you tighten it down all the way, but tightening it down all the way actually gives you that that lockup that you're looking for. So it's definitely a really cool system, and it keeps you from over tightening, and it keeps the knife nice and smooth. Oh, I'm having trouble focusing here. There we go. And it keeps the knife nice and smooth. So that's pretty awesome. Very, very, very smooth. Let's talk a little bit about handle shape and blade shape. So handle shape is very simplistic. Like I said, there's not too many. It's very simple. I mean, and it works. It's not anything fancy. It's a good sized handle. It fits your hand well. It's a full grip. It's got the little cutout down here, a little choil for your finger to kind of hold on to, so you don't ride up over the blade. There is no forward choil here. This is pretty much the position that you're going to hold it in. There is jimping up top. The jimping I found actually varies from knife to knife. This one is pretty aggressive. This one works pretty well. It actually holds in fairly well. I've had ones before that are pretty useless. But whatever. So that's the handle shape. Talk about blade shape a little bit. The blade shape is really nice. It's kind of the perfect EDC shape. It tapers. It's kind of this drop point where it slopes down, and then the bottom of the blade bellies up to meet the tip. It remains. It carries a lot of thickness. It carries a lot of thickness throughout, so you get this nice thick blade stock, and it's very, very uniform until you get right about here, and then it still carries a lot of that thickness to the tip. Let's see if I can. So it carries a lot of that. I don't know if this is going to focus. No. There we go. Okay. So it carries a lot of thickness out to the tip. So it looks pretty good. Stop freaking out. There you go. So it carries a lot of that thickness out to the tip, and I love the rounded spine. It just makes it feel so much classier. This is a tumbled, has the stonewash top section and the polished blade. I don't like that. I prefer the all stonewash for this reason right here. If I can show you, see that? Of course not. There's a scratch right on the blade here. So I really don't like the polish. I mean, it's great for like a kind of a dress up type knife, but for something that I'm going to use, it's not fantastic. I don't mind it on this because this isn't what I am going to use normally. I'm going to use the regular 21, but I had that sent off to Chris Reeve. So the handle scales, the titanium is notorious for showing wear, but I don't think it looks bad. I mean, it's notorious in that it shows wear, but it's also accepted. You know that this is normal. I mean, it's titanium. It's not, it's not hardened steel. It's going to scratch. It's going to scuff, and that's fine. And it shows character. You know what I mean? I like my knives to not look perfect all the time because I want them to kind of have their own personality from model to model. So I really like the way this blade is shaped. The blade is shaped. It's really good for cutting. You've got it essentially goes where you tell it to go. It's not super down, so you do have to give your wrist a little, turn to get it to go down. But I really think overall it's a great shape. I just love the blade shape. It's so easy to use. I don't hesitate to use these, on a daily basis. They're built to be used. That being said, they have a very high, it's a high flat or a high hollow grind. You can definitely feel how it tapers down, and it tapers down to a very fine edge. And you can get these very, very sharp because of how how fine that hollow grind is. You can get this thing screaming sharp with relative ease. I'm not the best at sharpening. I use my methods, but I get this thing razor sharp without a problem. It is so easy to sharpen. The S30V in this, and I believe this is S30V because it was manufactured in 2009. The S30V in this is great to sharpen, holds a good edge. What more can you say about it? Really that's it. That's all I got to say. This will serve as my kind of overall overview of the Large 21. I'm sure I left some things out. I tried to hit everything. I'm just going off the top of my head here, so if I missed anything, maybe I'll add it into the comments or the description. But that's all I got. So thank you for watching, and have a good day.